Believe it or not, as I got better with my detailing business and got more efficient and then did the things like I've talked about on this podcast before of, getting more efficient with the products that I used and my techniques and didn't take forever to detail a car anymore, I started to run into a new problem, which is that customers thought that I was finishing their cars too quickly. Now, this was definitely an unforeseen issue that I literally was flabbergasted by. I didn't think people would care if I finished their car quicker. But what I came to find out and came to learn was that some customers sometimes actually do want you there all day working on their car, because there are a few customers that equate you working for a long time with quality, which I'll be the first to admit is not always the same. You could have someone work on the car all day long and the car just still doesn't turn out good. And it has nothing to do with the amount of time that they were on the car, but rather their lack of experience when it comes to detailing a car. And so I thought, okay, I can't always raise my prices, but I can get more efficient with my methods, right? So if I can only charge, the market is telling me, hey, $200 for a detail is kind of the top end of that detail. But if I could do that detail in half the time that it would normally take, I would essentially raise my hourly wage, and by nature, I would be able to do more work in that day, which would then, of course, make me more money, right? And so I thought this was a great idea. This was a great thing. Instead of having to raise my prices for the customer, I could raise my efficiency, and I kind of equated that to being a responsible business owner. If I could knock out a service as quickly as possible and still have the end result great, that would be a win-win. Well, it was for 98% of the customers that I did, but every once in a while, I would get a customer kind of complaining and being like, wow, you did that so quickly. How did you do that so fast? Well, wow, you're making as much as an attorney would make, and blah, 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 blah. Again, it wouldn't happen all that often, but when it happened, at least the first couple times it happened, it really caught me off guard of like, am I being punished for being efficient? And that's what I felt like. I thought this was the natural progression of business, of that you got better. I thought you were hiring me for an end result, not for as much time that I could spend here. And it really was it threw me for a loop, if I'm being honest, of like, so you don't care how it turns out, or you just think that if I'm here for a long time that I must have done a good job. And so, of course, later in my career, I'd get a little snarkier of like, oh, were you paying me to detail your car, or were you paying me to be here in your driveway for 8 hours? Because if you're paying me to be here in your driveway for 8 hours, that's a different price than the service that we agreed upon for the detail, right? And so what I did find, though, is the best clients, the top tier clients, the clients that you actually want, they would appreciate you not being there all day. They would appreciate you being efficient, getting the job done, delivering on the result that you said that you were in a really efficient manner, and then getting out of their way so they could go on with their business and their day and doing what they wanted to do. It was the people that didn't have much going on. Maybe it was a stretch for them to get their car detailed anyway, and they expected, based on their previous experiences with other detailers and stuff like that, they expected you to be there all day. They expected you to be in their driveway all day. They expected their whole day was you detailing their car. So when you're done in 3.5 hours or 2 hours, you can imagine their amazement of like, wait, what? You're already done? How could you already be done? The last guy that did this took 8 hours, right? And so this is something that you need to address before the detail even starts. And so what I started to do was set proper expectations. And so this is, making sure that the customer is extremely clear on the services that are about to take place. So this is why I always do a pre-detail inspection on any estimates or quotes that I send out. They definitely are, it's clearly laid out what is entailed in the service, what is not entailed in the service. And the customer approves that via signature before any service takes place. And they also approve that after the service takes place via a signature as well. And it really this is the only way that I was able to finally get out of this, because it's tough. You can kind of start boxing with the customer, especially if you're not clear on it up front, which is the mistake I made very early on, not being clear with the customer with how long the service was going to take and what, clearly written out was entailed in the service, because the last thing you want to do is have to go back and forth with the customer on what you verbally said and what they verbally said. That's just never a spot that you want to be in as a business owner at all. And so, here's kind of setting the scene of how this would go once I got kind of efficient with it. I would, go over the car with the customer and say, hey, what are some pain points that you have with this car? Why did you call a detailer to come out and detail your car? What is it? And that way, that is a very good question to ask, because that way you can make sure that their highest priority reasons, their highest priority things, the real reasons that they called someone to come out in the first place can be your highest priority issues to tackle first when you're fresh on the detail, right? But you can have those areas under a microscope, and then the preferences of the customer too. Hey, I cannot stand streaky windows, or I called you out because my dog barfed in the back seat. I called you out because I always get my car detailed every 6 months. I called you out because the last guy that detailed my car wasn't good. Or I called you out because, my car's 3 years old and I just think it needs to be done. I called you out because my front seat looks like this. And so customers will reveal the information through a simple dialogue of what they're looking for and what they're expecting in the detail, right? And then you can explain back and reiterate what they're looking for. Okay, so you want a ceramic coating, or okay, yeah, definitely. We need to make sure that we get that, barf cleaned up and extracted or steamed or whatever. But I think we should also, do an odor removal, or we should also do a X, Y, and Z. Or, you'd say that you want to protect your paint. Have you considered a ceramic coating? This is also a moment where you can kind of upsell, downsell, cross-sell, whatever, right? And then clearly laying that out. Hey, let me send you this in writing. We talked about a lot. Let me send it to you in writing so you can kind of look over it. Even if you're starting the service right then, I'm going to send you it so you have everything in writing. And by the way, and here's the tip, by the way, this service is going to take me about 4 hours. And that is the key for this. Telling them upfront exactly how long the service is going to take you is the biggest mistake that I made in the very beginning not doing. So laying out for them, hey, this service is going to take me about 4 hours, about 2 hours, about 3 hours, about how long it's going to take you, letting them know upfront, hey, this service is going to take 2 days, right? And then that way people can plan, and then that way you're already segmenting, you're already putting it in their mind of, okay, cool, it's not going to take 8 hours. And it also gives them the chance and the opportunity to ask questions right then. 4 hours? What do you mean only 4 hours? Last time it was 8 hours. Last time I had my car detailed, it took this long. They could bring up any issues before you even have done any service to the car. So then if it's they just want you there for a certain amount of time thing, or if it's the end result they're after. But the key thing is, and the major mistake I made was not being clear on this from the get-go before I started any service. Because when I was young in it, and I wouldn't do this, and I wouldn't be as clear, and I wouldn't be as efficient with it, and I wouldn't be as on top of it, what would happen is I would complete the service. The customer would be completely shocked at how fast it got done. They would think I did some shortcuts or I did something weird. And so then they would try to negotiate the price after the work was already done, which is, if you're starting to renegotiate the price after the work is done, you're screwed. Right? You are totally screwed. And it's just, I chalked it up as a steep learning curve, but that's why I'm kind of discussing it now, because you do not want to be negotiating the price after you've already spent 4 or 5 hours on the car, 2 hours, any amount of time on the car. So making sure that you handle this situation before any work is done is really paramount. And so being clear with your customer, typing it out, having a good CRM, software that can help you lay this out, that's quick and efficient as well, being able to efficiently send that over to your customer so they could take it in the privacy of their space and read over it and make sure that they're clear on it too. Because I think that's the ultimate thing that needs to be clear is the communication. You need to be communicating clearly with your customer of what you're going to do. They need to be clear with what you're going to do and how much time that is actually going to take. And so by doing this, it also gives them a sense of security of like that you're going to do what you say you do, and they're going to be happy at the end of it, right? And so once I started doing this, once I started being very clear upfront and telling them how long it's going to take, I never had that reaction anymore of like, you're already done? That was so quick. Instead, I had the reaction of like, wow, you really know your stuff because you were done 3 hours to the T. You really know how to do this. It's clear that you've done this before, right? And so in doing this, you're coming off as professional. And so that's what, the negotiating after the service is done, even the negotiating on price before, that all to me is signaling that your business does not seem legit and professional in the eye of the customer. They have some, they just don't see your business as professional, right? They don't see you as professional. And so you need to take steps to show them that you are professional. And that's where a good CRM comes in. That's where clear communication comes in. That's where all these other things come in. So just making sure you have clear communication will do wonders to make you seem more professional. And then having these high standards and efficiency in service, again, make you seem more professional. They help you stand out from the crowd as well. So anyway, that's what I would do. If you're having problems with this, of customers saying that you've completed the service too quickly, how could you do a service that quick? It doesn't make any sense, yada, yada, yada. Maybe you need to implement some of these things, including, at a bare minimum, letting customers know upfront about how long the service is going to take you. And if you've done detailing or you've done this for any length of time, you should have a pretty good grasp upon how long it's going to take you to complete a service, right? Just by looking at the car. If you've done this for a few years, you can probably, ballpark it within a 30-minute window or so. And by the way, if something's not going as planned and it's taking you a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, you can always check in with the customer. Hey, the detail is going great. I like to do this having a shop. Hey, the detail is going great. Here's a few progress pictures. I think I'm going to be done a little bit earlier. As a reminder, I work by appointment only, so I'd appreciate you picking it up, when I say it's ready to be picked up. If that's going to be a problem and you need to pick it up later or tomorrow or whatever, we could definitely arrange for that. Having a shop, I could leave it overnight. It's no big deal. We can pick it up tomorrow. But those are all things that I try to discuss beforehand before we get into any squabble or any issues after the detail. It's all about trying to avoid any issues after the detail to save any pain for you as the detailer. So with that, thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Let me know your horror story in the comments below, or send me a message, Jimbo at Jimbo's Detailing. I'd love to hear any ways that you've handled these kind of situations in the past. And don't forget, you could go over to jimbosdetailing.com and check out all my product line, which I think are the best damn products on the face of the earth. And I've done a bunch of YouTube videos on all of them. Thank you guys for listening. Catch you on the next one. See ya.